Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajakacarya Ashtotra Sada Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Please repeat. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We can do the prayers together. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudirayet nashtaprayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuronmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyamadi Paschatya Deshatarine. We'll continue our reading from Canto 10, Chapter 9, Mother Yashoda binds Lord Krishna. So we'll do text 7 through 12 today. For a couple. I'll let you know when the verse that we want to read. But today is also the appearance day of Shri Purushottam Das Thakur. I wanted to speak about him a little bit before we get into the Bhagavatam. So Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami gives us some details of Purushottam Das Thakur in the Chaitanya Charitamrita in the Adi Leela. He says the 23rd and 24th prominent devotees of Nityananda Prabhu were Sadashiva Kaviraj and his son Purushottama Das, who was the 10th Gopala. So there are 12 close associates, Dwadasha Gopalas, friends. So Srila Purushottam Das Thakur was one of them. He incarnated in Gaur Leela as Purushottam Das Thakur. He was a very exalted devotee of the Lord, a close associate of Lord Nityananda Prabhu. And his father, it is said, was Sadashiva Kaviraj. In the next verse, Prabhupada gives, I think, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's translation. He says, he gives the identity of Sadashiva Kaviraj. And this Sadashiva Kaviraj was, he says, a very close gopi of Krishna, who was Chandravali. So this is Chandravali incarnating as Srila Sadashiva Kaviraj, and his son was Purushottam Das Thakur. And Purushottam Das Thakur was a very, very exalted devotee of the Lord, and especially a close associate of Lord Nityananda Prabhu. And it is said in the next verse that he was merged in the service of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda Prabhu, and he always engaged in childish play with Lord Krishna. This was how intimate he was. Of course, he was a Gopa. This was how he was engaged with Krishna. This was his relationship with Krishna. And these devotees came, just like how when Krishna came, he asked all the demigods and all his associates to incarnate. Just like that, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, he also got all of his most intimate associates along with him. And Purushottam Das Thakur was one of them. And his son, Sri Kanu Thakur, is so exalted, it is said, that he was such a great devotee that Lord Krishna always lived in his body. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says. And unfortunately for Kanu Thakur, he lost his mother very soon after he was born. And he was taken under the shelter of Lord Nityananda Prabhu. He took him, and it is said that Janava Mata really took care of him and took him to Vrindavan when he was 5 years old to meet the wonderful devotees there in Vrindavan. And all the devotees, when he was 5 years old, when they met Kanu Thakur, could realize how exalted he was. And the description given here is that when he was 5 years old, he went to Vrindavan with Janava Mata, and the Goswamis, upon seeing the ecstatic symptoms of Kanu Thakur, gave him the name Kanai Thakura. So they could see that when he was 5 years old, the ecstatic symptoms in his body. So it doesn't come easily, right? This lineage that's coming from. Prabhupada said, by third generation devotees, the kids in ISKCON can fly in carpets. If we are doing it right? We can attract really exalted souls into our movement if our generation and the next generation, the generation after, are able to do the right things, are able to practice devotional service nicely. We can get such exalted devotees as kids. So today is the appearance day of such an exalted devotee, Srila Purushottam Das Thakur. So we pray to him so that we can also serve the Lord in such intimate ways that he was serving. And we'll continue with our Srimad Bhagavatam. This is chapter 9 of Canto 10, Mother Yashoda binds Lord Krishna. And we are on text 7 today. So far, what's happened is Mother Yashoda has left Krishna down because she's seen the pot boiling. She doesn't want it to overflow. So in order to save the milk, she has left Krishna, and then she's gone to save the milk, and Krishna has become very, very angry. We saw in the last verse that he was biting his lips and his face was becoming really red, and then he broke the pot. She was actually churning a pot of butter before she went to take the boiling milk. So he was so angry at his mother that she had prioritized the milk over him. So he broke the pot. And we'll see what he did after that today. So text 7, whoever has the mic can read the translation, please.
Mother Yashoda, after taking down the hot milk from the oven, returned to the churning spot, and when she saw the container of yogurt was broken and that Krishna was not present, she concluded that the breaking of the pot was the work of Krishna.
Yeah. There is this whole book called Damodar Janani by Shivram Maharaj, who goes through this entire pastime in a book. He's basically collected all the commentaries of the Vaishnava Acharyas and given it in like a conversational form. There he says, the Bhagavatam in one verse basically says she found out. But Mother Yashoda was really contemplating a lot before accusing Krishna. This was her son. He could never do any wrong. This was Mother Yashoda's mood towards Krishna. How can Krishna, when everybody used to come and complain about Krishna, she would never believe anybody, like, no, my boy is such a wonderful boy. How can he do anything that you're describing? So she was thinking and looking around to see, like, who could have done this? Is this the work of the monkeys? Is this the work of somebody else who's doing it? And then she found out that this could only be Krishna, because she could see the footprints. He had broken the pot, but in fear, he was running away. Oh, in a fit of rage. That's what happened, right? In a fit of rage, he broke the pot and then suddenly realized, oops, I should not have done it. And then he started figuring out, how can I escape my mother? So then Mother Yashoda saw his footprints, it is said, and then knew, oh, this was him. Actually, it is also said she could hear his tinkling ankle bells when he was running, when she was coming. The book also, Maharaj says that he had actually broken the pot, and Mother Yashoda from inside the kitchen was telling, Krishna, be patient, I'm going to just come back. It's going to just take me a second before. By the time he had broken, but she couldn't see it. It said that the Yogamaya had wheeled it. And she was thinking Krishna was still there to enhance this pastime. And by the time she came, the pot was already broken. But then here, she's recognized, oh, this is Krishna's doing. This is nobody else other than Krishna. Okay, let's continue. Text 8.
Krishna at that time was sitting on an upside down wooden mortar for grinding spices and was distributing milk preparations such as yogurt and butter to the monkeys as he liked. Because of having stolen, he was looking all around with great anxiety, suspecting that he might be chastised by his mother. Mother Yashoda, upon seeing him, very cautiously approached him from behind.
Yeah. So he was churning butter inside the house, and then after breaking the pot, he had gone to a storehouse right next door. And in the storehouse is when from the rafters she had hung all these curd and butter that she had made for him. And this is very special, the acharyas say, right? Because Mother Yashoda didn't want Krishna to go to other people's house to steal butter. So she had very special cows that she had chosen, and then fed them this fragrant grass, right? It's called, I think, Padma Gandha. I think that's what it's a very fragrant grass that she would feed the cows, and then get the milk, make the butter, and then she would think, oh, and I would personally do it because she had thousands of servants at home. It was not required for Mother Yashoda to do this very tedious activity of churning butter. It's very difficult, to make butter. So she said, I will personally do it, and with my love and the wonderful milk that I'm getting from the special cows, Krishna will not have any need to go outside. This was her thinking. And this was such wonderful butter and milk and yogurt that she had hung from the rafters. So Krishna had gone there, stolen a few pots, and then from there he had gone into the courtyard. And in the courtyard, it is said he was sitting on an upside down wooden mortar. This is the mortar that is used for grinding spices. And it is said that it's a big mortar. And because it was making too much noise, this was Mother Yashoda's thinking. When Krishna was a young, small boy, even still he is small, but even smaller, when he was sleeping, grinding spices on this mortar would make a lot of noise and would wake up Krishna. So Mother Yashoda had actually put this mortar out in the courtyard so that it would not disturb Krishna. So he had found that, gone there, and then he had his wonderful friends there. He had the monkeys that he would distribute butter to. And this was very special butter. So Mother Yashoda was following. Okay, where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? And from the door, she would take a peek. And then she saw. She was being very careful. She wanted to catch Krishna in the act. And she wanted to really teach him a lesson this time, because this was her son and he was being very mischievous, and she didn't want him to get a bad name. So she was being very careful, tiptoeing and then looking at from the door, and then she saw Krishna stealing the butter. And here it is said he's distributing it to the monkeys. Such wonderful butter, Krishna is distributing it to the monkeys. And we have so many monkeys in Vrindavan. And this is Krishna's one of his best friends. They are there with him in all his mischief, the monkeys. And Krishna is very, very grateful, it is said, to these monkeys, because in his previous incarnation as Lord Ramachandra, they had sacrificed their lives to save Mother Sita. They didn't care about their lives. So many monkeys were killed. They built a bridge for him. They went to war with him. So he was very, very grateful. So he gave them this incredible position of being with him in Krishna Leela. And this was his gratitude, It is said that he was being grateful. This is the best butter that can ever be there in this world. This my mother has made it with her own hands. You please take it. This was Krishna's intention. So he was being very, very grateful. And we have this small picture book for our daughter, different qualities of Krishna. And the first thing that comes up is this. He's taking this butter and distributing to the birds, and he's distributing to the monkeys. And it is said, Krishna loves sharing. Krishna can get anything and everything, and yet he doesn't keep it for himself. This is this incredible quality of Krishna, that he loves giving it to people. Not just things, but also glories. This, you see how this entire pastime, how it is glorifying Mother Yashoda. In the Bhagavad Gita, he is ready to glorify his devotee, Arjun. He doesn't want to keep anything to himself. This is this incredible quality of Krishna, where although he is the possessor of everything, everything is owned by him, he is readily willing to give everything away to his devotees. So she saw him and was approaching from the back. Let's continue. Text 9.
When Lord Shri Krishna saw his mother, stick in hand, he very quickly got down from the top of the mortar and began to flee as if very much afraid. Although yogis tried to capture him as Paramatma by meditation, desiring to enter into the effulgence of the Lord with great austerities and penances, they failed to reach him. But Mother Yashoda, thinking that same personality of Godhead Krishna to be her son, began following Krishna to catch him.
Yeah. And she had a stick in her hand, just to threaten him. It was not that she was going to hit him ever, but just to bring this healthy fear in Krishna, to think that, okay, I've done something wrong, my mother is really upset with me. And it is said, for all of us, we have two eyes. For thieves, they have eyes in all directions. Like Krishna was constantly looking everywhere. He was not even able to eat the butter in peace. He had stolen it. So he was looking everywhere just to make sure his mother wouldn't come after him. And he had seen it. Although Mother Yashoda was being very, very careful, from the corner of his eyes, he could see that she was coming with a stick. That's how clear he could see. That's how focused he was watching. He saw her with a stick, and he started running. Jai Shri Radha Kalachandji ki jai. And this is how the description of Krishna is there for most part of the Vedic literature, right? Of God, of how exalted he is, of how opulent he is. And this is how this entire pastime begins, right? What triggered Shukdev Goswami into saying this Leela of Krishna? Does anybody remember? This is in the previous chapter. He's questioning the position of Mother Yashoda Ananda. Why? Can somebody use the mic? I think we have to. You were saying something? Yeah, what was it that happened in the previous chapter? Yeah, it was something very simple, right? Krishna ate dirt. And yet, when he opened the mouth, he showed the universal form to Mother Yashoda. And was this the first time he showed it to her? The universal form? This is the second time, right? When he was very, very young, when he was like a small boy, when he was drinking milk, she wanted to see how many teeth Krishna had. She opened the mouth, and then Krishna showed this universal form. And then this was the second time. And usually when you see the universal form, people are like, terrified of it, or in great awe, they're stunned. But Mother Yashoda's reaction to it was, oh, this is still my boy. This is still my little boy. It doesn't matter. Probably I'm just confused, by seeing everything. I'm just bewildered. But this is still my young, small boy, Krishna. It doesn't matter if he's God himself. This was her mentality. And this is what makes Parikshit Maharaj ask this question, what kind of love is this? Who is Mother Yashoda? What fortune have they, this is this incredible fortune where they have the Supreme Personality himself crawling in their courtyard and drinking milk from the breasts of Mother Yashoda. What great fortune did they get? This is how this entire story is being narrated. This is why this story is being narrated, on how this love, that the Vrajavasis have is nothing compared to any other love that we have seen in Srimad Bhagavatam so far. And we have seen exalted devotees of the Lord. Jai Shri Shri Radha Kalachanji ki jai. It's not that we've not seen extraordinary devotees throughout the first 9 cantos of the Bhagavatam, but this was something that Parikshit Maharaj had never seen throughout the narration of Srimad Bhagavatam. This love that Mother Yashoda had for Krishna that was completely overpowering the opulent aspect of Krishna. So usually this is how the world is seeing. This is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whom the yogis are meditating on. They're trying to capture, and yet this personality is afraid of his mother, is running because she has a stick in her hand. So can we read this purport, Prabhu? Can you go to the purport of this verse? This is we are reading the purport for next verse, but this has a connection. Prabhupada starts the connection from this purport.
Yogis, mystics, want to catch Krishna as Paramatma, and with great austerities and penances they try to approach him, yet they cannot. Here we see, however, that Krishna is going to be caught by Yashoda and is running away in fear. This illustrates the difference between the bhakta and the yogi. Yogis cannot reach Krishna, but for pure devotees like Mother Yashoda, Krishna is already caught. Sorry, the screen is frozen. Okay. Krishna was even afraid of Mother Yashoda's stick. This was mentioned by Queen Kunti in her prayers. Bhaya bhavanaya shitasya. Krishna is afraid of Mother Yashoda, and yogis are afraid of Krishna. Yogis try to reach Krishna by Jnana Yoga and other yogis but fail. Yet although Mother Yashoda was a woman, Krishna was afraid of her, as clearly described in this verse.
So this was Mother Yashoda's position on how even Krishna, whom all the yogis are trying to capture, is afraid of Mother Yashoda. And Prabhupada says this illustrates the difference between the bhakta and the yogi. This is the difference. When we are practicing devotional service, Krishna willingly is ready to get captured by his devotee. When we are trying to capture Krishna by our own endeavor, in terms of here, Prabhupada is speaking about the jnana yogi, through our mental speculation, through our mind. This is what they're trying to capture Krishna with, right? Their intellect and their mind. I'm going to understand Krishna by my own. This is what is the endeavor of the jnanis. And Krishna is much faster than the mind. It is said in the Ishopanishad, right? Krishna is so fast that he cannot be caught even by the pace of the mind. How are we going to catch Krishna by the mind? It's impossible for us to catch Krishna by our own endeavor. This is Prabhupada's point. And the yogis are performing so many austerities. Like it is said in the Gita, right? You go on a floor that's not too low, not too high. You sit on a kusha grass. You focus on the tip of your nose, and you're trying to meditate for thousands of years and trying to merge into the Brahman. You're trying to become God. And yet Krishna is not bothered by any of it at all. We'll see some examples of it. But here, Mother Yashoda, who is externally seeming an old woman, a relatively old woman in a quaint village in Vrindavan, is able to put fear in Krishna, whereas the entire world is fearful of him. Ugram, Veeram, Mahavishnum, Jvalantam, Sarvato Mukham, Nishimam, Vishnam, Madram, Mrityor, Mrityum, Namamiham. Death itself is afraid of Krishna. His fear is fearful of Krishna. He is Ugram, he is very fearful. He is Veeram, he is very, very powerful. This is why Prabhupada is saying, although Yashoda being a woman, she's not a great warrior. Right? It's not that Krishna had to be fearful. It's not like she was Arjuna, who was considered the greatest warrior of his time. And yet, she was such a simple woman. And yet, Krishna was afraid of him. It was not because she was so powerful. The power that she had was a love for Krishna. This is what he was afraid of. This is what made Krishna run from Mother Yashoda. Not any physical power or this great warriorship that Mother Yashoda might have had. Okay, text 10. We'll come back to the Sanskrit. This is our focus verse. We'll read the translation for the next 3 verses and come back to this verse.
While following Krishna, Mother Yashoda, Her thin waist, overburdened by her heavy breasts, naturally had to reduce her speed. Because of following Krishna very swiftly, her hair became loose and the flowers in her hair were falling after her. Yet she did not fail to capture her son Krishna.
He got caught. Text 11.
When caught by Mother Yashoda, Krishna became more and more afraid and admitted to being an offender. As she looked upon him, she saw that he was crying, his tears mixing with the black ointment around his eyes. And as he rubbed his eyes with his hands, he smeared the ointment all over his face. Mother Yashoda, catching her beautiful son by the hand, mildly began to chastise him.
Yeah. Are we reminded of any other verse from this description? Yeah, the first verse of the Damodara Ashtakam. Right? He's really afraid of his mother and he's basically rubbing his eyes again and again. She has put real nice, what's called ointment, mascara, right? That's what it's called? Kajal. Oh, sorry, kajal. And then this already is weeping and this is all dripping all over. And then he's making it even worse by rubbing his eyes. It's all over his face now. And it is said in the Gita that the sun and the moon are his eyes. Right? It is said Krishna's one eye is the sun, the other eye is the moon. He's seeing everything every time. Nobody can escape. So Krishna here is thinking, I've taken birth in both these dynasties. Right? He's taken birth in the sun dynasty as Lord Ramachandra. In this incarnation, he is from the moon dynasty. And he's saying, I've brought great disrepute to both these dynasties because I've been caught thieving. So let me rub this disrepute from both these dynasties, is what the acharyas say. When he's trying to rub the eyes and say, no, I want to get this disrepute, this black mark out of this dynasty that I've given incarnated in. And yet it's really fearful as his mother on the direct meaning is that this is why he's rubbing. Like children, when they're really afraid, they do this, you see, when they're crying and they get caught. And Yashoda began to chastise him. Mildly, it is said. She never really wanted to do anything to Krishna, you know. Although she had the stick and she was chasing him, all she wanted to do was make sure Krishna knew what he did was not right. So she was mildly chastising him, it says in this verse. Okay, last verse, text 12. Who has them? Yeah.
Mother Yashoda was always overwhelmed by intense love for Krishna, not knowing who Krishna was or how powerful he was. Because of material affection for Krishna, she never even cared to know who he was. Therefore, when she saw that her son had become excessively afraid, she threw the stick away and desired to bind him so that he would not commit any further naughty activities.
Yeah, naughty activities. This was the reason for binding him. The Acharyas say, I think it is Jiva Goswami in this case, he says that Krishna's mind is really fickle. You know, she had already chastised him. He was really afraid and crying. And she thought if I left him there, he's going to do even more naughty activities. So it's better that I bind him to this motor so that I can go back to my daily activities at home so that he doesn't do any more mischief. This was her thinking. And he actually goes even further to say why this thought process came into Mother Yashoda's mind. And she came, saw that he was feeding the monkeys, and she was actually very upset that Krishna was feeding the monkeys. This butter that she had taken so much effort to churn, Krishna was feeding it freely to the monkeys. And she was very upset at Krishna, and she was telling him, you've become like a monkey, you know. You're being with them, you're playing with them, you're feeding them, and you've become like a monkey. And then Krishna was saying, okay, if you think I'm a monkey, let me go to the forest with them. You know, this was Krishna's answer to Mother Yashoda. He was not really remorseful of his actions at all. He was basically saying, if you really think I'm like a monkey, I'm going to go to the forest and live with them. So Mother Yashoda remembered this. And she was thinking, oh no, if I leave him now, he's already afraid, he's really upset at me, he's going to go to the forest. He's going to go to the forest and be with the monkeys, so let me bind him to the motor. This was her thought process. So that Krishna would not just run away to the forest and do other things. So this is why Mother Yashoda was thinking about binding him, and in the next section we'll see how she tried binding him. But For today, let's go to verse 10 in the Sanskrit. Anvachamana janani brihachalach Shroni bharakranta gati sumadhyama Javena vishramshita kesha bandhana Chuta prasunanugati paramrishat Anvanchamana janani brihachalach Shroni bharakranta gati sumadhyama Javena vishramshita kesha bandhana Chuta prasunanugati paramrishat. Please chant. Anvanchamana janani brihachalach Shroni bharakranta gati sumadhyama Javena vishramshita kesha bandhana Chuta prasunanugati paramrishat Anvanchamana janani brihachalach Shroni bharakranta gati sumadhyama Javena vishramshita kesha bandhana Chuta prasunanugati paramrishat Anvanchamana janani brihachalat Shoni bharakrantagati sumadhyama Javena vishramshita kesha bandhana Chuta prasunanugati paramrishat. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. This is the word for word. Anvanchamana following Krishna very swiftly. Janani Mother Yashoda. Brihat Chalat Shroni Bhara Akranta Gati. Being overburdened by the weight of her large breasts, she became tired and had to reduce her speed. Sumadhyama, because of her thin waist. Javena, because of going very fast. Vishramshita Kesha Bandhana, from her arrangement of hair which had become loosened. Chuta Prasuna Anughati, she was followed by the flowers falling after her. Paramrishat, finally captured Krishna without fail. Translation. While following Krishna, Mother Yashoda, her thin waist overburdened by her heavy breasts, naturally had to reduce her speed. Because of following Krishna very swiftly, her hair became loose. and the flowers in her hair were falling after her. Yet she did not fail to capture her son Krishna. Purport. Yogis cannot capture Krishna by severe penances and austerities, but Mother Yashoda, despite all obstacles, was finally able to catch Krishna without difficulty. This is the difference between a yogi and a bhakta. Yogis cannot enter even the effulgence of Krishna. Yasya prabha prabhavato jagadanda koti kotishu. Brahma Samhita 540. In that effulgence, there are millions of universes, but yogis and jnanis cannot enter that effulgence even after many, many years of austerities, whereas bhaktas can capture Krishna simply by love and affection. This is the example shown here by Mother Yashoda. Krishna therefore confirms that if one wants to capture him, one must undertake devotional service. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschashmi tatvatah tato mam tatvato jnatva vishate tadanantaram. Bhagavad Gita 18:55. Bhaktas enter even the planet of Krishna very easily, but the less intelligent yogis and jnanis, by their meditation, remain running after Krishna. Even if they enter Krishna's effulgence, they fall down. So this is what was happening, that Mother Yashoda was trying to catch Krishna, and he was running very, very fast, and Mother Yashoda was trying to catch up with him, but she was slowing down. And naturally, when she was running, her hair was loosening, and the flowers that she had in her hair were falling. And it is said these flowers recognized, because everything in Vrindavan is conscious, right? The flowers, the dust, everything is conscious. These flowers recognized how exalted Mother Yashoda was, what an incredible devotee she was, and were paying their obeisances by falling at their lotus feet. It is said that this was no ordinary person, Mother Yashoda. She is running after God. God is fearful of Mother Yashoda. In one of the purports, he says, even Yamaraj is fearful of Krishna. And the example that he gives is Ajamal's example, Prabhupada gives, where even Yamaraj asked his servants to back off. He said, no, this is not our domain. We cannot do that. When they were very upset when they came to Yamaraj to say, who are these Vishnu Dutas? Like, we have never seen them before, because of course, when Yamadutas are there, that person is so sinful. There is no chance that the Vishnu Dutas are going to be anywhere in the vicinity. And this time for Ajamal, they had seen somebody they had never seen before. And Yamaraj tells them that, no, this is actually the boss that we work for. You think I am the boss, but he is actually the person that all of us work for. So Yamaraj himself is very afraid of Krishna, Prabhupada says in that purport, giving the example of Ajamal. And yet, Krishna was running from Mother Yashoda, and the flowers recognized how exalted Mother Yashoda was. And this fear was not fear in the normal sense of a very negative connotation, right? Prabhupada writes in the purport that he is being captured, but this is capture is always a negative word, right? Because if you're captured, it means you're fleeing. You've done something and somebody's chasing after you to catch you for doing something wrong. That's when the word capture is used usually. But in this case, it is because of love, Prabhupada says in the purport. And this is why Krishna was caught. This is the difference between the yogi and the bhakta. And if you want to know me, Krishna says, Bhaktya mam abhijanati. There is no other way. And we can see this in the case of several examples we can see in the Srimad Bhagavatam, where these exalted yogis thought it was their right to see Krishna. The most famous of which were the 4 Kumaras. They were entering Vaikuntha, and they took it for granted that, oh, we are so exalted that we can get into Vaikuntha. And they were stopped at the gate. Krishna didn't come to see them. And when did Krishna come to see them? When his devotees were getting punished. This is when Krishna came. Krishna didn't come there so that he could give darshan to the Kumaras. Krishna came there because his very dear devotees, Jai and Vijay, were in great trouble. And to protect his devotees is why Krishna came. In fact, he came to beg to the Kumaras to say, can you please do something? These are very, very close associates. I cannot live without them. And you've cursed them. He even goes on to say, it's like you've cut my 2 arms. This is what you've done to these Kumaras. He didn't come to see them. He came so that he could pacify them so that his devotees would not be affected. This is the reason why Krishna came. And yet, these devotees, Kumaras, before they took darshan of Krishna, this was their idea, right? They were the greatest Brahmavadis. They didn't know Krishna as a person. They thought they could just, by their power of austerities and meditation, penances, they remained 5-year-olds. Precisely for this reason, that when they grew up, they could get affected by all these different emotions and feelings that naturally come, that can disturb us when we are growing up. And because of their penances and austerities, they were able to remain as 5-year-olds. And yet, when they saw Krishna, they were completely, put in a state of different emotion by just smelling the fragrance of the lotus feet of Krishna, which was not just the fragrance of the lotus feet of Krishna. It was the fragrance of the lotus feet of Krishna mixed with the fragrance of tulasi, it is said. And when that entered their nostrils, samshobham, they were like completely. All their penances and austerities and all their control, where they were trying to avoid this, all got shattered. And this is the right way to function in this world, right? Many people can think that I'm going to control my senses, become very, very austere, reject everything in this world. And in that way, I'll never be in trouble. I'll never get disturbed in this world. But that's a very negative way of looking at this world, because at some point, one thing can derail us. Right? Great yogis like Vishwamitra, who had great control of their minds, by one sense, one tinkling bell of Urvashi, were taken away. But the best way to actually function in this world is to use our senses in serving the master of the senses. Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam. This is devotional service. And through devotional service is how we can know Krishna. Just not know Krishna, but capture him. This is why one of the qualities of pure devotional service is it's very, very hard to get. Right? Because this is Krishna Akarshini. It can capture Krishna. Pure devotional service can capture Krishna. Therefore, it is very hard. Krishna doesn't give. If Krishna gives, he has to be bound by his mother. This is what happens when Krishna gives people pure devotional service. So this is the way we can try to be very strict, and it is required that rules and regulations are given for a specific reason. And Rupa Goswami says this very clearly in his Upadeshamrita. He calls this Niyamagraha, where these rules and regulations is like a razor's edge. Right? It can go this way or that way. This way is we don't really care about the rules and regulations, and we say, oh, this is there, but I can do anything that I want. The other side is we are so stuck to rules and regulations that we forget what the purpose of following the rules and regulations are. Rupa Goswami says both are harmful. The reason why we practice devotional service is that because we can love God. This is the only reason. And everything else is there to facilitate that one goal, to awaken Krishna Prema. This is why it is there. And all of us have to constantly evaluate, right? This is said about the yogis. It can be true about the devotees also, isn't it? Where sometimes we can become so hard with rules and regulations that we might forget why we are doing what we are doing. And sometimes we can take rules and regulations so lax that we again forget why we are doing what we are doing. It's both the sides of the same coin. So we follow according to, this is why Sato Vritte, right? We follow in the footsteps of great devotees. Mahajano ena gatasya panta. Prabhupada would often say, this is all we have to do. We don't have to really put too much of our mind. The acharyas instruct us. And over time, Krishna gives us the intelligence if we follow, right? It is not that it is blind. We wouldn't figure out why we are doing what we are doing. If we are following the instructions of the spiritual master, Krishna from within the heart gives us the intelligence to come to him. He tells us the reasoning behind it. Initially, we might not know. My favorite example is that of the Brahmana in Sri Ranga. This is an extreme example, right? He was an illiterate. His spiritual master asked him to read the Gita. I mean, it's very bewildering for me to even understand this instruction of the spiritual master. He knew his disciple was illiterate. He knew he couldn't read a word of the Gita, and yet he asked him to read the Bhagavad Gita. And he was trying. He was still trying. He didn't go to his Gurudev and say, Gurudev, I'm illiterate. You're asking me to do this. It's a very difficult thing for me to do. Why are you putting me through this? He could have obviously said this, right? At least the Chaitanya Charitamrita doesn't tell us of this conversation. And he was such he was having such humility that he was doing what his spiritual master was asking him to do. And as a result of that, people were ridiculing him. It was not easy, right? It was not that he was, okay, it was very difficult for him from a personal standpoint that he didn't know how to read or write, and yet he was given this instruction. But people outside were ridiculing him for doing what he was doing. And yet he persisted. And the result was he got 4 months of personal association with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This was the result of it. This is what we can get. By following the instructions of the spiritual master, we can reawaken our love for Godhead. We might not understand what it is at this point, but Krishna will give us the intelligence over a period of time. And it is only through bhakti, like Mother Yashoda is showing, that we can capture Krishna. There is no other way. Krishna can never be captured without bhakti. With bhakti, he is captured. This is only because of love that he is captured. Bhakti Baddham, Damodarashtakam says, right? Externally, it seems like he's bound by a rope, but it's not just the rope that's binding him. We will see how much hard Yashoda was trying to bind him. The ropes can never bind Krishna. What really bound Krishna was Mother Yashoda's love. This is what will bind Krishna. And again, this is such a wonderful chapter that we can speak so many, but I would like to take reflections and thoughts and comments. We are at 8:25. Time to stop. Yes, Gokulananda Prabhu. You wanna use this? Okay.
Hare Krishna. Wonderful class, Prabhu. And I would like to personally thank you for sharing glories of Purushottam Das Thakur.
Thank you.
It was really nice to hear. On a lighter note, speaking about the word Sumadhyama, I was just thinking how this particular mention smashes the theory of so-called veganism. They are dead against the intake of dairy. So what they do not know is Mother Yashoda, she comes from a family where there are 900,000 cows, right? Every day ghee, milk, and still you see Sumadhyama. So yeah, there is so much of false propaganda going on. So
to give context, Sumadhyama, it was translated as thin waist. That's what you're saying. Even though they're eating lots of butter and milk and ghee.
I think you get overweight because of the dairy. That is the
anything taken in excess can do it, but if you do it the right way, this is bhakti, right? We're not trying to reject anything, but trying to do it in the right way. But they do have a point in a way, with the way animals are treated and things like that. But then they take really extreme positions. Yes, anybody else? Nanda Braja Prabhu here. Then Mishra Bhagwan Prabhu and Vrinda Sevika Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhu. My question is about Yamaraj.
About?
Yamaraj. He's one of the 12 Mahajans, the company of Narada Muni, Prahlad, Bhishma, such exalted devotees, and so is Yamaraj.
Yes.
How can he fear Krishna?
Because he is still in on reverence towards Krishna. This is what it is. And he's still functioning within this world. So that is, it's not that he is fearing Krishna like Kamsa. But there is fear of God, right? This is something that he's working on behalf of Krishna. He's there in this system where he's functioning as Yamaraj, just like how there are so many demigods. Fear in the healthy sense of him being the boss and I have to do what he's asking me to do. Not like how Mother Yashoda is saying, I don't care who you are. That's what it means.
Okay, so can you help me understand that? From what I understand is fear of God is in the mode of ignorance. That's a relationship in the mode. So if that's true, then how can a Mahajan help me understand?
Yes. Fear of God in the mode of ignorance means that is the only motivation for me to do things. There is no other reason for me to do. But that was not the primary motivation for Yamaraj to do things. Right? Fear is there in terms of the healthy fear of I have to respect what my boss is asking me to do. Not in terms of, if I don't do this, he'll kill me. This is what fear of God in the mode of ignorance is, right? If I don't do this, he'll kill me. It's not that I know what my duty is, therefore I do it, but it comes from a very negative thinking. That's what it means to be in the mode of
I
ignorance.
was just thinking about Mother Yashoda. I
Yeah.
mean, Krishna loves Mother Yashoda. That's the primary. Of course it is.
Yeah.
But yet he even fears her.
Exactly. That is the comparison that the acharyas are making. That Krishna, who himself is personified by fear, feared by fear personified, is afraid of Mother Yashoda. Is fearing Mother Yashoda. So, and again, this fear is not fear in the mode of ignorance, right? Yeah, what the fear that Krishna is having is a fear based on the relationship. Oh, this is my mother. I've done something mischievous. And this fear was what Yamaraj was having. Is that this is Vishnu Dutas and you guys have gone and argued with Vishnu Dutas? Like, what am I going to say, Krishna? I haven't taught you guys properly. Was the fear that Yamaraj was having. Not that, oh, what will Krishna do? He's going to really, throw thunderbolts at me. That's not the fear. Mr. Bhagwan Prabhu. Yes.
You mentioned that Mother Yashoda had a lot of maidservants.
Mm.
And we hear about these maidservants actually throughout this whole chapter is about, they were given away during the Kamsa gave a whole bunch of maidservants as charity. So these maidservants are like given in charity, their property. Does that mean that the Vedic civilization supports slavery?
So usually what happens, we've seen in the beginning of Krishna Leela also, when women get married, they go to the husband's house. Right? This is the natural way in which it happens in the Vedic civilization, is that the woman leaves the father's house and goes to the husband's house. So usually somebody from the family is also moving along or traveling with them and not sending them alone. This is why Kamsa was taking Devaki. She was his sister and she just got married. So along with it, they have, in my understanding, and people, you can comment more, is that they send their friends along so that they're not really feeling alone, these maidservants. And these maidservants were not really treated as slaves in the sense of the word that we're using. They were not like really exploited where they're putting them to work in cotton fields all day long and they're not caring about what they're doing and what their health is. They're killing them, things like that. I don't think we can use the word slaves in this context. These maidservants were well taken care of and I'm sure were sent with their desire. This is my understanding, just to make they're like more like friends of the girl, so that they don't feel alone when they go to their husband's place. But that's my limited understanding of this. I don't know in terms of how the details of how this happened. If anybody has any thought on this, Karan Prabhu.
So I was listening to Prabhupada talk about this a few days ago.
Wonderful.
And in the context of, you hear a lot of devotees, they go by something das, right? Das is servant, but in a literal sense, it's slave. And so he said, well, why would these people voluntarily call themselves slaves? He says, because when you're treated well, when you're treated properly, being a slave is actually the most ideal place to be completely surrendered to your Lord. So this is why they call themselves slaves. And I guess in that way, in a historical context, a king, a raja is taking care of his people. They serve him and he serves them.
Yeah.
So it's very ideal to be a servant.
Thank you. The Prabhupada Priya. She's in the far back.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you for a very nice class.
Thank you.
I was just thinking about Mother Yashoda that it starts off with Parikshit asking the question, like, what did she do to get this position, that she was not at all bewildered or, by the
Yeah.
universal form. And then it's almost like Shukadeva Goswami's like, not only was she not bewildered by the universal form, not only was she not put into like a mood of awe and reverence the way Arjuna was, but listen to this. But listen to this. This is like
Yeah.
that she caused him to be afraid.
Yes.
Not only was she not afraid of him,
Yes.
but he became afraid of her.
Yeah.
So
Thank
it's
you.
just-
That's an incredible context.
Yeah.
This is a storyteller, right? When somebody is narrating, this is why Shukadeva Goswami is expert. You think this is what's bewildering you? Look at what's happening next.
Like, you ain't heard nothing yet.
Vrinda Sevika Mataji. We do have 5 more minutes.
Thank you for this sweet class, for the sweet pastime, Prabhuji. I just wanted to add from something I heard many
Yes.
years ago. Actually, Amrendra Prabhu has done like a 60 days meditation on
Wow.
Damodar pastime. It's not there anymore online. I keep looking for it, but
Oh no.
these flowers that you were telling about, the flowers that are there on top of Mother Yashoda's head,
Yes.
because they have consciousness.
Hmm.
Their mood, one thing you said was like, because they were like, oh, we are sitting on the head of a pure devotee, we want to
Yes.
pay obeisance to her.
Yes.
So that's one reason they fell down, and the other one was, we're probably slowing her down from catching Krishna. So, let's just
Shed
fall
the
off
weight.
and serve this devotee who is
Yes.
serving Krishna.
Yes.
So I heard that was really
That's
wonderful.
a really nice realization. And I forgot one more thing. It is said that in Damodar Jani, Shivram Maharaj says it's also the demigods were offering flowers at Mother Yashoda's lotus feet. And Krishna was very happy looking at it, it is said. And he was turning, and this is when he got caught, He didn't see Mother Yashoda. He was able to run, and then he saw her, and then he saw her eyes, and then it's like, okay, I cannot do this anymore. And he had to get caught. Yes, Mataji.
Yeah, and to add to all the thoughts of the flowers, Radhanath Maharaj also in some of his classes says some of the flowers were feeling like, oh, she's running to chastise Krishna. I don't want to be a part of it, and they were falling off.
So you see both the sides, Some are in Krishna's side, some are in Mother Yashoda's side. This is the spiritual world. It's amazing. Yes, Nandapraja Prabhu, you raised your hand? Yeah, somebody else has anything more to add?
On the go back a little bit on the slave. I looked up the definition of slave.
Yeah.
A person legally owned, controlled, and forced to work for another with no pay or rights, effectively treated as a shell cow properly.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different than a
Correct.
servant, who is a person who performs duties for others, especially a person employed in a house on domestic duties or a personal attendant.
Yeah.
So there should be some difference here between a
Yes.
slave and a servant, right?
Yes. Yes.
Slave has such negative condensation from our
Yes.
history and our definitions and stuff. And
Yeah.
these maid servants are definitely not slaves. They're not. They're only owned by the love of Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj and Krishna.
Yeah.
We could say that maybe.
Yeah. And specifically his question was them going away. They used to send lots of girls along with the person who's getting married to another house. Right? It's a very valid question, we have to, people will ask us this question.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think? Yeah, you're sending 200 girls along. Did you get their permission? What is their status? It's a very valid question that he is raising. So we should study more to see how we can answer this question nicely.
You see the propensity to give shelter is a loving exchange. For instance, you see in the American culture that dogs are so much, people do so much for dogs.
Yes.
And even my family has some cats, and they become like part of the family. I'm not saying a cat and a human are in the same,
No,
but
understand.
equally, when
Yes.
somebody's part of your family,
Yeah.
there's more than just the duties that are going and what you take and what you give and stuff like that. There's a love there between these.
Yeah, and one of the things that we have to remember is we cannot transplant things from another time to this time in many ways. This is why people have so many questions about Lord Ramachandra, right? And his dealings with Mother Sita is something that people often question. Of course, the acharyas give so many different explanations on every single act of Krishna. But the thing is, it was a completely different time. The rules of engagement was completely different. Like war was fought in a completely different way. People were living with completely different framework in their society. So if we are trying to compare that with the times that we live in, then we also have to follow the same framework, then we can compare. Or we have to go to that framework and understand how things were happening at that time. If you're trying to confuse both, then it becomes very difficult. Yes.
So the last part of the purport says, even if they enter Krishna's effulgence, they fall down. This is a reference to the Gyanis by their meditation remain running after Krishna.
Yes.
So our understanding is this fall down is they desire to because they get bored, not that they are forced to fall down, isn't it?
Yeah, Prabhupada says it in many ways actually. In the verse, Aruhya Krichena Param Padam Patantyado Anadrita. That's what I think he's paraphrasing here. He says how these yogis and jnanis, they think they have achieved Brahman. It doesn't necessarily have to be that they've already transcended the material world and are in Brahman effulgence. Even here, they think they've completely detached themselves from the material world. They are in the Brahman platform. They still don't feel satisfied. They get into charity work and philanthropy and so many things like that. They fall down. Prabhupada quotes something like that as fall down. And it, like you said, acharyas say it is still outside the material world. So it is part of the spiritual world, the Brahman effulgence. So if you go there, you can't come back. You don't have to come back unless you desire, unless you take the initial step to say. Jiva Goswami says that. So there are different opinions of how we can take a look at this. But in essence, that's yes, Mother Prabhupada.
Yeah, I think my impression from Tulsi Saki's question is that you kind of are bewildered by the word forced to fall down. Because it sounds like the word force seems to indicate that like somebody else is forcing you to do something that you don't want to do. But I think it's more in relation to like, it's not that someone else is forcing them to fall down or throwing them down, but they're forced. Oh, okay.
It doesn't say force. It just says they fall down in the purport.
They fall down. But it's like, yeah, anyways, if we want to go with the word force, that they're forced by their own nature.
Yeah.
Right? Like in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks about that you will be forced by your own nature to do this, even if you try not to.
Yes.
So we get forced to do many things just because of our nature, because of our no one's forcing us. We just are forced by our own stuff.
Okay. Yes, Gokulananda Prabhu.
I can't recollect exactly, but somewhere in Krishna book, Prabhupada writes, after attaining Brahmajyoti, many of them, they fall down and they take birth as trees.
You've heard? Diamonds? Or they take birth as diamonds? Or trees? Okay. Yeah. In Sanskrit, it is said when you start reading Sanskrit, you think Aham Pandita. Oh, I know everything. And then as you read more, you think I am also a Pandita. There are so many people, but I also know. But if you read more, you think I don't know anything. What I know is just a drop. This is Bhagavatam or any spiritual literature. We think we know everything. And then we read more, we think, oh, I know something. And then the more we read it, I actually don't know anything. There's so much depth in everything that's there that we have a long way to go to understand anything at all. So thank you all so much for your attention, your wonderful association and comments and reflections. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vancha Kalpatrubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhe vacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namah. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Srila Purushottam Das Thakur ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.